the rain has not stopped for 3 days. London's fog clings to every lamppost and iron rail, the streets trembling with carriage wheels and dripping gutters. It is the year 1851, the year of the Great Exhibition, of glittering machines and polished glass palaces, yet beneath it all lies another world entirely, damp and unseen. By this time, hundreds of men called toshers earn their living where no sunlight reaches. They descend into the veins of the city, its sewers, searching for what the careless rich have lost. Silver buttons, copper coins, the occasional ring dropped through a drain. Authorities forbid it, warning of disease and death, but still they go, still you go. You stand at the edge of the Thames embankment before dawn. The river smells of salt, smoke, and something older. The gaslight flickers yellow against the mist. You can taste the soot when you breathe. Behind you, London yawns, a giant waking in mud-soaked silence. Ahead, an archway gapes in the brickwork, warm air sighing out from its throat. It's hard to imagine, but you're about to walk where no sunlight reaches. You lift your lantern, a dull, greasy glow pools in your palm. Somewhere within the tunnel, a single drop of water falls, then another, steady as a heartbeat. You crouch, hook in hand, an iron rod with a curve like a shepherd's crook, and step inside. The echo swallows you whole. If you enjoy these journeys, a like and a subscription mean more than you think. They directly keep this channel alive, and I'd love to hear from you too. Where are you listening from? And what time is it right now? Now settle deeper into your blankets. Let your breath slow, and together we'll slip into the journey. The first thing you notice is the sound. Not silence, but 1,000 tiny movements, trickling water, faint scratching, the hiss of your own breath against the tunnel's curve. The air tastes metallic, warm and sour. Each step sinks into something soft. You tell yourself it's only mud. The brick ceiling arches low enough that you must stoop. Your lantern throws thin ribs of light across wet walls. They glimmer like the inside of a throat. A rat watches you from a ledge, eyes small and brilliant. It vanishes when your hook scrapes the stones. You know the rules of this life. Keep one hand on the wall, never wander beyond earshot of the exit. Carry lime water against the stench, and always listen, not for ghosts, but for the rush that comes before flood. One roar and it's over. They say a good night's work can feed a family. A lost shilling glints like salvation in this blackness. You swing your hook, stir the sludge, feel something solid, bone, maybe wood, then the sweet tap of metal. You kneel, scoop it up, rinse it in the lantern glow. A brass button stamped with a crest, worth a penny, maybe two. The river gives what it takes. Far above, church bells murmur through layers of brick and soil, muffled, slow, like the city's pulse. You wonder if the people walking over your head can sense you, the small tremor of footsteps beneath their boots. Would they step differently if they knew? You move deeper. The tunnel narrows, ceiling dripping condensation onto your neck. The smell thickens, ammonia, rot, riverweed. Your throat tightens, eyes water. Somewhere behind, another lamp flickers. Perhaps Bill the tosher, or maybe no one at all. You call softly, but the echo answers with your own voice, stretched thin. You pause. The air changes, lighter, cooler. You raise the lantern and see the sewer fork ahead. One path glimmering faintly with moving water. There's a faint chiming sound. Coins clinking together, carried by current or dream. You wade toward it. The water kisses your knees, cold through your trousers, and something brushes your leg, soft, alive. You flinch, steady, breathe. Just a rat, probably. A shape drifts by, a corked bottle. You catch it with the hook. Pull it close. Inside, a scrap of paper curled like a tongue, writing blurred. God save us, maybe. Or keep out. Hard to tell. You slip it into your pocket. A curiosity, nothing more. You think of the world above. The smell of bread at dawn, the cough of horses, The flash of gold in shop windows, all of it feels impossibly distant, as though you've stepped out of time. Down here, there's only now, your breath, your heartbeat, the rhythm of dripping water. The sound becomes a metronome, steady, slow, hypnotic. A sudden thud startles you. Somewhere close, stone against metal. You freeze. The light trembles. Then laughter. A low, familiar chuckle. It's old Carter, his lantern bobbing from another arch. "Even and sit, lad," he calls, voice thick with accent. "River sets, generous tonight." You nod, smile. No need for more. Words echo too far in places like this. For a while you work together in silence, scraping, rinsing, pocketing small treasures. Once you find a silver teaspoon, its handle bent like a question mark. Carter whistles, impressed. "Tea for a queen," he says. You both laugh softly, sound swallowed by the dark. Hours pass, or maybe minutes. Time folds underground. The lantern's oil burns low, smoke curling around your face. You wipe your mouth, tasting salt and ash. Somewhere behind you, water drips in triplets. 1, 2, 3. The rhythm lulls you, a lullaby of decay. You sit for a moment on a dry ledge. The bricks are warm from hidden pipes. Through a crack, you glimpse a flicker of daylight far above. A drain, maybe, or a reflection of the moon on puddled glass. It feels like another universe. Would you dare to live your life down here? Could you bear the smell, the weight of stone above your head? You imagine the comfort of a clean bed, the scent of soap, luxuries as distant as stars, and yet in this darkness there's a strange kind of peace. No one watches, no one judges. The city's noise fades to heartbeat and breath. You rise again, adjust your hook, step back into the current. Something glints ahead, too bright to be coin. You reach for it, the water ripples, swallowing the light. The drip continues. The echo deepens. The tunnel bends again. You move with the tunnel's slow curve until old Carter's lamp sways beside you like a second moon. The darkness feels less absolute when another breath shares it. Down here, companionship is a rope tied loosely around the waist. Not tight enough to bruise, just sure enough that if one of you stumbles, the other will feel the tug. You knot the cord with damp fingers, the fibers rough as old twine. Carter tests the line, gives a gentle pull. It answers, a small reassurance in a world with no horizon. Voices carry strangely underground. A whisper becomes a rumour of wind. A laugh, a faraway bell. Before the next bend, two silhouettes appear, lanterns lowered to keep the smoke from blinding them. A woman with her hair wrapped in a kerchief. A boy with bare feet, quick on the bricks. "Evenin'," she says, the word coming warm through the cold. You nod. The boy grins, reveals a coin between two fingers, then palms it again with the slyness of a street conjurer. "Found him a ha'penny," Carter murmurs. Luck travels in pairs. You fall into the Brotherhood's rhythm. Not blood brothers only, but hunger brothers, dusk brothers, the fellowship that grows in places too cramped for pride. Your hook taps measured beats on the floor. Her hook answers from the shallows. The boy hums a tune he learned above ground, but below it becomes a different song, slow and minor, the notes stretching to fill the wet air. You share stale bread that tastes of river and iron. Someone hands you a scrap of salt herring wrapped in newspaper, and for a moment the stink of ammonia fades beneath a briny ghost of the sea. Every group keeps its own small customs. Some say a blessing to the bricks. Some spit over the shoulder before the first sweep. Carter touches the lantern glass twice, once for the living, once for the lost. You do not ask how many that accounts for. You have seen the marks scratched into brickwork at certain junctions, circles and arrows, initials, crude fish bones, wayfinders, or warnings. Records suggest the police discouraged these signs, but letters hint that toshers paid watchmen with small fines to look the other way. Truth slides down here like water, You learn to feel its current rather than follow its map. You round another elbow of the tunnel, and the air grows heavy, woolly, hard to swallow. The woman lifts her lantern high. The flame shortens, shivers, gutters. "Choke damp," she says softly. Carter nods, face turned to the faint breeze as if smelling rain. Down here you learn to read fire, how a wick leans, how a flame shrinks, the way sailors learn to judge the sea. You backtrack 3 paces, the rope nudging your waist with the patience of a dog's nose. Breath returns like a hand opening. Fact settles into the dark, steady as the drip. London's sewers were never truly still. Even before Bazalgette's grand redesign in the 1850s and 60s, the brickwork webbed the city, carrying waste and stormwater beneath parlours and counting houses. Above ground, the great exhibition gleams below. You sift through what gleaming drops. 2 Londons in one body. The boy points to a braided strand tied to his hook. Hair surprisingly clean. "For brushes," he says with pride. Quirky treasures find uses you would never guess: bone for buttons, rags for paper mills, corks for bottles, shoe leather for patchwork. He pulls a spoon from his pocket that has been lashed to a stick with twine. "For the tight corners," he explains, as if he's telling you where to catch minnows in summer. You take the spoon stick, test it in a crevice, the width of 2 fingers, and hear the soft ping of something metal. The boy's eyes flash in the lantern light. "You've a touch," the woman says, half blessing, half appraisal. A rumour runs through the tunnels that some toshers keep terriers on ropes to frighten rats from nests and flush small fines from silty pockets. You have never seen this, and no one agrees who started the story, but the image persists. A dog trembling at the end of a line, lungs working like bellows in the sour air, a faint bell tied to its collar so it won't vanish in the dark. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's a tale that keeps fear busy while hands keep working. The water deepens after the junction where the brick wall bulges with old mortar. You and Carter take turns sounding the depth with your poles. "Shin," he mutters. Then knee. Your trousers sip the cold and keep it. A creeping tide that climbs your bones. The rope between you tugs. The boy has found a cache beneath a lip of stone, 6 buttons, a bent brooch, and something that might once have been a clasp. The woman measures each piece with her eyes like a shopkeeper. Pawnbroker'll pinch his nose again. Carter smiles. "Still take them, though." From above, a burst of laughter filters down like sunlight through dirty glass. A tavern, you guess, or a coffee house flinging open its door. The smells descend in faint threads: yeast, tobacco, wet wool, and unravel against the sewage stink until all that remains is the knowledge that other lives continue, brightly lit, somewhere above your head. Would they glance down if they knew? Would they drop a coin through the grate as a kindness, or draw their skirts tighter and pass without a thought? The boy is telling a story in half-whisper. A tosher who found a handful of guineas near Blackfriars, enough to leave and become a costermonger. "He got a cart," the boy says. "Apples and pears, mind you." Carter snorts. Every fortune begins in someone else's mouth. The woman's lantern shows the hint of a smile under her kerchief. A curve like a crescent moon. Luck is a rope too, you think. Sometimes it holds, sometimes it burns the skin and slides away. The set piece arrives without announcement, the way all true moments do. A vibration gathers under your boots. Not sound exactly, but the memory of sound arriving early. The flame leans. The woman's hand lifts, palm open. Hush. The drip stops for the space of a heartbeat. Then a surge, invisible at first, then visible as a small shouldering of water around the lower bricks, like a beast rolling in sleep. Storm somewhere upstream? A sluice opened? You do not wait to discover which. The rope tightens of its own will. You step toward the higher ledge. Carter hoists the boy by the belt and deposits him on the dry. The woman hands you her bag, light as a lullaby. The water swells again, nuzzles your calves, withdraws like a test. Then it subsides, shamed back into its bed. You breathe, slow and deliberate. The boy laughs too loud. The woman presses a finger to his lips, and that becomes a game. He tries to catch her finger with a kiss. She dodges, both of them smiling in a darkness that permits such small mercy. That's the rhythm, Carter says, as if teaching you to dance. Listen, and the city tells you what it means to do. Later, you rest in a brick alcove where a forgotten maintenance ladder offers a rungs and rust cathedral. You share a heel of bread and a wedge of something hard that might be cheese. Your tongue decides to be grateful. The woman pours a cap of gin from a bottle as small as a thumb. It tastes like nettles and fire, and returns your chest to you. Names, you ask, finally. It feels right to know them. She hesitates. Down here names can cling like wet fabric. Nell, she says at last. The boy lifts his chin. Tom. He shows you the coin again, then presses it into your palm with ceremonial gravity. For luck, he declares. You try to give it back, but he curls your fingers over it. Luck travels in pairs, he echoes Carter. You decide to let fortune be superstitious on your behalf. You talk of roots and tides, of brickwork that looks honest and brickwork that lies, of the man near Holborn who buys rags by the pound, and always weighs his scales in his favour. You mention the pawnbroker who smirks and records your finds, as if he were a clerk of fate. Nell nods. He has a wife with soft hands, and a window full of silver, she says. She will drink from your teaspoon without knowing your name. The statement is not bitter. It is what water does when presented with a slope. Above, clocks gather themselves into the idea of midnight. Below, time continues to be water and footsteps. The boy begins to nod, his head tapping his chest in a slow metronome. Nell draws him under her arm, and he sleeps inside her shadow as if the lantern makes a room and the room makes a home. Solidarity arrives like that down here, not spoken but held. At the far end of the alcove, a tiny arch, too small for a person, just large enough for a memory, exhales a thread of cooler air. You tilt your head, listening. Is that the river thinking, or the city's long sigh? Letters hint at hidden chambers in the oldest tunnels, Victorian sewers grafted onto Roman drains, brick kissing stone across centuries. Some swear there's a dry room somewhere with a carved lintel, and a shelf where somebody once kept candles for the lost. You have never found it. You cannot swear you want to. Some sanctuaries, if real, refuse the light. Carter rises, groans softly as his back recites its age. One more run, he suggests. Nell nods, pulls the kerchief tighter, wakes the boy with a touch to his hair. You retie the rope, test the knot. The flame steadies, regains its height. Somewhere behind you a rat skitters, small feet speaking in code you do not yet know. The hook finds the floor. The water agrees to let you pass. You follow the lanterns until the tunnel remembers. It has another bend. The air thins just enough to taste your own breath again. Far away, a carriage rolls over cobbles and becomes thunder in the barrel of the world. The rope gives a gentle, companionable tug. You answer, and keep moving, and the dark moves with you. When you next surface, dawn is still a rumour. The narrow ladder shivers beneath your hands, its rungs slick with slime and age. You climb slowly, every muscle burning from hours spent crouched like a question mark. The air above the grate is sharp and cold. It cuts through the stink that has followed you upward. Your fingers hook around the lip of the opening. With a grunt, you lift the iron grid, and the city exhales a sigh that is half fog, half smoke. You crawl out into the alley, shoulders aching, breath shaking in your throat. The world is almost beautiful in its indifference. Ribbons of mist loop between chimney stacks. Somewhere, a clock strikes 6. The sound spills through puddles like ripples of brass. The cobbles gleam faintly in the half-light, their seams lined with soot and bits of straw. Every droplet on the bricks seems to contain another London, one that never sleeps, never notices, only repeats. You stand straight, stretch until your back cracks. A small victory. The river smell clings to you like a second skin. You try to wipe your hands clean, but the stains live deeper than the flesh. Above the rooftops, the first curls of chimney smoke rise like grey serpents. Bread ovens hum awake. Factory whistles wheeze. The city yawns, as though the night's dreams are being shaken off and forgotten. Would anyone guess where you've been? If they looked at you now, boots damp, clothes spattered, eyes red from the lantern's glare, would they see a scavenger or just another worker on his way to labour? Perhaps there's no difference. Carter lifts the grate behind you, helps Nell and the boy up one by one. The child sneezes, a bright human sound that seems almost too alive for the alley. "Best get moving," Nell murmurs. "Street sweepers sit'll be out soon." You nod, but you linger. There's something about the cold open air that feels both cruel and clean. The city smells different up here. Coal smoke, baking bread, wet horsehide, and something floral, cheap perfume maybe. It's intoxicating, almost dizzying after the sewer's ammonia breath. For a moment, the sky above the rooftops blushes with a colour you'd forgotten existed. Pinkish gold. It looks fragile, like something that could shatter if touched. Carter claps your shoulder. "You sort freeze looking set at that," he says. "Come on, lad. Pawn open at 7. The walk to Bishopsgate feels longer than usual. The streets widen, puddles shrink, and the fog thins enough to reveal outlines of polished windows. Milkmen rattle bottles in their carts. A costermonger calls about his oranges, the bright colour almost obscene against the grime. You pass the pawnbroker's shop, wooden door, glass pane dulled by years of breath and bargain. The bell above the frame gives a single, reluctant ring. Inside, the light is yellow and mean. Shelves sag under clocks that no longer tick, silverware gone dull, and hats missing feathers. The pawnbroker looks up from his ledger. He's a small man with spectacles that magnify the distance between his eyes and pity. "Ah," he says, "as though your kind arrive like the tide. Morning trade, is it?" You lay out the night's harvest. Buttons, coins, the bent brooch, the silver spoon that still smells faintly of the river. The man wrinkles his nose, pinches the spoon delicately with a bit of cloth. Real silver, maybe once. He weighs each piece on a scale that never smiles. The metal pans sway, creak, settle. He slides a few coins toward you. They clink with the smallest sound of finality. Beside you, Nell haggles with the precision of a chess player. The boy stands near the door, watching a well-dressed gentleman outside adjust his gloves. The gentleman's boots shine like wet mirrors. His coat is lined with fur. He steps into a carriage whose interior glows faintly red with velvet. The horse stamps, exhaling clouds. The carriage rolls away. The boy presses his face to the glass for a moment, fogging it with breath. "He could buy us all," he whispers. You hear yourself say, "I," and never know it. When your business is done, you step outside again. The cold air feels like a kind of baptism. The coins in your pocket click against one another. Their sound both promise and mockery. You buy a heel of bread and a mug of something calling itself coffee from a vendor on the corner. It tastes burnt but warm. The heat travels down your throat and settles in your stomach like forgiveness. You watch people passing, clerks, maids, messenger boys, all dressed in their layers of purpose. None of them look down. None of them imagine the tunnels breathing beneath their boots. Yet the two worlds touch everywhere in the drains that run below doorsteps, in the smell of the river that sneaks into parlours through cracks in the floorboards. The divide isn't distance, only ignorance. You think of the exhibition again. The Crystal Palace glittering with inventions, machines spinning silk like miracles. You've heard the rumours. Fountains, glass arches tall as cathedrals, engines that could power the future. Some say it smells of new paint and perfume. Others say it smells of progress. You wonder what progress would smell like underground. Would it mask the stink, or simply rename it? A church bell tolls nearby, its echo rolling through fog. Time folds again. Nell tugs the boy's sleeve. Carter counts his coins twice. They'll head back tonight, after rest, after a cheap meal and maybe gin. The thought should exhaust you, but it doesn't. The sewers call in a language that only those who've heard it can recognize, a mix of echo and heartbeat, promise and threat. You wander for a while instead of sleeping. The sky clears a little, revealing rooftops like black teeth near Westminster Bridge. A street sweeper hums as he pushes his broom, clearing away the filth that fell from passing carriages. The irony makes you smile. You think of the filth below, the real filth, the kind that hides its treasures. The man sweeps what he can see, you what the world forgets. You pause by the river rail, looking down at the Thames. It moves sluggishly, reflecting light like a sheet of tarnished pewter. Barges glide by with coal, barrels, crates of produce. A gull cries overhead, its echo stretched thin by fog. Somewhere under that water the tunnels open their mouths. You imagine your own reflection drifting down there, bending with the current, eyes wide open. Would you ever leave it behind if you could? Could you live above ground, surrounded by brightness that never hides its filth, only perfumes it? The questions follow you as you walk. In a bakery window, golden loaves sit in tidy rows, steam ghosting the glass. Inside, a girl dusts flour from her sleeves, laughing with someone you can't see. The smell drifts through the door, a miracle of yeast and warmth, and your stomach remembers its emptiness. You buy a roll, pay with one of the pawnbroker's coins, and eat slowly as you watch the world continue. Every bite carries a strange guilt. For a moment you can almost taste the sewer's air again, the metallic tang, the soft hiss of unseen water. It lingers in memory like a warning. You swallow, push it away. At noon, the sun breaks through the cloud for a heartbeat. Light splashes across the wet street, catches on a puddle. Inside it, you see the reflection of a passing lady in a feathered hat. She doesn't see you. She sees only her own image trembling in the water. You realize the city is a mirror built on darkness. Every bright window, every shining shoe is balanced by shadow below. Evening drifts back without apology. The smell of the Thames thickens. Gas lamps sputter to life. Halos trembling in the mist. The crowds thin as the working day exhales its last. You walk toward the embankment again, each step a slow surrender. When you reach the grate, Carter is already there, lantern lit. Nell adjusts the rope around her waist. The boy carries a new spoon stick, proud as a soldier with a flag. They look tired but content, as though daylight were a brief dream that must now be set aside. You glance once more at the street. Horses, carriages, laughter spilling from taverns. A gentleman steps over a puddle without seeing the hands that might have dredged his lost cufflink from a drain last week. The air vibrates faintly. The river calls again, a hum through stone and iron. You kneel, lift the grate. The first breath from below is warm and foul, familiar as a heartbeat. You lower yourself in. The boy follows, then Nell, then Carter. The lanterns swing, painting circles on the brick, as if marking the boundary between two realities. The surface world closes like a lid. The dark welcomes you back. The water murmurs in greeting. You breathe, and the city breathes with you. The air down here carries a strange anticipation, as if the tunnels themselves know what's coming. It is late in the autumn of 1851, and the city above has been weeping rain for a week. The water in the Thames has grown fat and restless, swollen with everything London has thrown at it. You feel that restlessness under your boots, a steady vibration too faint to be sound, too deep to be stillness. You follow Carter's lamp through a stretch of brick, older than most of the city. The walls sweat constantly, shedding cold drops that fall onto your neck like unwelcome thoughts. Your body has learned to bend with the tunnels, to move with their curves. Each breath is counted against the damp. Each echo is a question you answer with another step. You are a creature of the underworld now, part human, part reflection. The toshers have grown cautious. Nell ties her rope tighter, checks the knots twice. Tide's been creeping up faster, she murmurs. Smells wrong, don't it? You nod. The air does smell different tonight. Thicker, sour with river silt and something metallic. You tell yourself it's just the rain. Deep down you know it isn't. At first, everything feels as usual, the scrape of hooks on stone, the clink of coins against buckets, the hiss of water slipping past your knees. The boy hums under his breath, a tune that rises and falls with his steps. Carter mutters to himself about the price of gin and the sting of salt air in his joints. The work is slow but steady, the kind of night that seems endless but safe. Then the smell sharpens the way iron smells before lightning. Your lantern flickers, bowing its flame like a servant to some unseen force. The boy stops humming. In the silence you hear it, a low moan from far down the tunnel, followed by a distant roar. Not thunder, not wind, water, alive and impatient. Carter hears it too. His face tightens, deep creases filling with shadow. Back, he says quietly. Back to the high brick. You don't argue. The rope jerks once as everyone turns. Boots slap the stones, water splashing higher. The roar grows, a wall of sound rolling toward you, thick as a heartbeat. Nell stumbles. You catch her arm. The boy trips and goes under for an instant. Lantern clattering into the water. A flash of flame, a puff of smoke. Then darkness. You haul him up by his collar, the rope between you all straining like a living thing. The roar becomes a voice now, furious, endless. Run, Carter shouts. The flood arrives not as a wave, but as a rising world. The water lifts from the floor, heavy and fast, pushing against your knees, then thighs, then waist. You fight to keep your footing, every breath filled with stench. The lanterns sway, throwing wild shadows that leap and vanish. You reach for a rung in the wall, a rusted ladder used by men who built these arteries decades ago, and your fingers find it just as the current grabs your legs. For a moment you are weightless, pulled sideways by a force that knows no mercy. Nell's voice vanishes into the roar. Carter curses, somewhere above or below, you can't tell. The boy's hand slips from yours, then finds it again, small and shaking. You wrap your arm around the rung, haul him against your chest and cling. Water slams against you, filled with things that were never meant to move. Sticks, bones, a shoe, a dead rat. The glitter of something gold. The light from the last lantern dies, leaving only sound. Your heart races so fast it might escape your ribs. The cold burrows deep, 1,000 needles beneath your skin. Hold. Carter's shout is a ghost in the noise. You tighten your grip until your palms split. The flood climbs a few more inches, then slows, then hangs there, waiting, like a predator, uncertain whether you're worth the trouble. When it finally begins to fall, it leaves silence behind so thick it hurts your ears. Minutes pass, or hours. It's hard to measure time in the dark. You breathe shallowly, listening to water drip back into place. Everyone? You whisper. Nell, Carter. A cough answers from the left, followed by a wheeze and a short laugh. Still breathing, Carter says hoarsely. Can't say the same for my boots. Nell's voice trembles from somewhere behind. Tom's all right. Bit scared, that's all. The boy clings to your sleeve, face pale, eyes enormous in the fading glow. He tries to speak, fails, nods instead. You pat his shoulder, though your hands shake too hard for comfort. You don't tell him you were just as frightened. You don't need to. You stay on the ledge until your breathing evens. The air feels different now. Emptied, hollow, something has changed. The tunnel hums faintly, a vibration in the stone, like the city's pulse skipping a beat. Carter tests the ground with his pole. Levels dropping, he mutters. Tide's turned. Let's get out before it thinks again. You make your way toward a higher passage. Every step a negotiation with mud and fatigue. The ropes drag behind like the tails of drowned serpents. At one bend you find a door half buried in silt. A maintenance hatch maybe, or something older. Its hinges sigh when you push. Beyond it lies a short corridor ending in a small brick chamber. Dry. Remarkably dry. Carter whistles low. Didn't Set know this bit existed? Nell lowers the boy onto a slab of stone and lights what's left of her candle. The flame rises clean, bright, unbothered by gas. The chamber smells faintly of lime and rust, but not of death. You sink onto the floor, chest heaving, muscles trembling. The warmth of the candle feels like sunlight on skin. In the flicker, you notice markings on the wall. Names, perhaps, scratched by others who'd sought shelter here. One is still legible. T. Gibbon, 1847. Beneath it, someone has drawn a crude heart. You touch the groove with your fingertip, wondering whether he made it before or after a flood like this. Records say many toshers died during the great storms that year, caught in tunnels without escape, but letters hint that a few survived by finding hidden chambers, rooms like this built when the first brick sewers replaced wooden drains. Some say those rooms connected to forgotten Roman vaults, others dismiss it as fancy. You don't care which is true. The dry air feels like a gift. The boy sleeps quickly, head on Nell's lap. Carter dozes sitting up, mouth open, breath rattling softly. You stay awake, counting drips. The fear has left its mark. It won't fade soon. Your hands ache, skin split, nails black with filth. Beneath the grime, a tremor still runs through you, a reminder of how close the flood came to claiming everything. You think of light now, of the world above that will be waking soon, a baker wiping soot from his face, a carriage crossing a bridge, unaware that the river below tried to devour you hours ago. It feels unreal, like someone else's dream. The fever starts with warmth, then confusion. Your skin burns despite the chill, your head filling with noise. You taste salt and metal, smell smoke that isn't there. Nell notices first. He's gone pale, she whispers. Feel his forehead. Carter does, grunts softly. Hotter than a forge. He's caught the fever. Sewer fever, they call it. Typhus, maybe. Or cholera. The words mean little. The result is the same. You close your eyes, willing the world to steady, but it tilts instead. The candlelight bends, tunnels spinning around it like spokes on a wheel. You hear Nell's voice, distant underwater. Stay with us now. Hear me. You try. The sound of dripping turns rhythmic, hypnotic. The air thickens. You remember stories told in taverns of toshers who wandered too deep and found rooms lined with bricks smoother than any others, rooms that seemed to hum with their own light. They spoke of hearing whispers there, not human, not unkind. Some said the city itself spoke to them, thanking them for cleaning its veins. Perhaps that's what you hear now, a whisper shaped like your name. It doesn't frighten you. It feels familiar, like a mother calling a child home. The fever pulls you under, and for a time you drift between waking and dream. You see flashes of water turn to glass, of lanterns floating through air like stars, of coins spinning endlessly without falling. At some point the fever eases, coolness spreads through you. You open your eyes to darkness gentled by candlelight. Nell sits nearby, the boy curled against her. Carter snores softly, his hand still gripping his hook. The candle trembles in a draught, casting halos around every movement. You realize you've survived for now. The flood receded, the fever retreated, the world still breathes. You feel both grateful and strangely hollow, like the tunnels after a storm, cleaned, emptied, waiting. Outside the chamber, the city hums faintly. Perhaps the river has forgiven its outburst. Perhaps it has only paused. You can never be sure down here. You listen until your heartbeat matches the drip again. The warmth from the candle reaches your face. You close your eyes and let the darkness fold around you. No longer a threat, but a blanket. When you sleep, the tunnel dreams with you. If you enjoy these journeys, a like and a subscription mean more than you think. They directly keep this channel alive. When you return, Winter has thinned the city's voice. The air above ground tastes of cold iron and coal. Breath leaves your mouth in pale sentences that evaporate before they finish. You are not the same shape you were before the flood. Fever has planed you down to essentials: bone, tendon, will. The rope about your waist hangs looser. Your footsteps measure the street with a tired man's care. Still, the grate remembers your hands. Still, the tunnels know your name. Carter meets you at the entry, with a nod that is almost a blessing. Nell pulls her kerchief tighter against the wind. The boy, taller now, cheekbones sharpened, twirls his new spoon stick like a parade baton and tries not to smile too broadly when he sees you. "Thought the river took you for rent," he says. Voice pitched casual, you ruffle his hair. "Not this quarter." You lower yourselves into the mouth of the city. The first breath from below is warm, heavy, with the soil-sweet smell of rot. After weeks spent healing in rooms that smelled of onions and soap, it is oddly comforting. The lantern flares, then steadies, a small sun chained to your hand. The drip keeps time and you match its patience. You move slower now, allowing the tunnel to reveal itself on its own terms. The brick here looks different, cleaner, newer, a hint of proud geometry even beneath stains. Carter taps it with his hook. "They're talking of building more," he says. "Proper tunnels. Grand as cathedrals, some say. There was that stink t'other summer near stopped Parliament itself." He grins with half his mouth. Imagine gentlemen discovering smell. A fact slips into the dark with the ease of a coin into water. Within a decade, Bazalgette will lace London with great intercepting sewers, miles of brick and purpose. Perhaps your children will know a city whose veins run more predictably. You work. The body remembers how. The hook arcs, the water answers, the bag fills in small, satisfying increments. A bone comb with missing teeth. A thin chain too bright to be gold, too stubborn to be worthless. 3 buttons stamped with an anchor. Sailor's memory set adrift. Now and then the boy hands you something rescued from tight corners by his spoonstick, proud as a locksmith in a house of secrets. The cold sharpens sensation. You feel every ripple against your shins, every scratch of brick on your knuckles, every whisper of gas as the flame shrinks, then regains its courage. You've learnt to read that language. How a lantern coughs before choking, how a current stiffens before it stands. You pause more often than before, not from fear, but from respect. The tunnel has proven its strength. You will not test it again without cause. Nell hums under her breath, a tune that might once have belonged to a cradle. She has a way of making the dark feel contained, as if the circle of her light is a room with walls and a door you can close. She passes you a bite of something wrapped in brown paper, bread, studded with currants. "A treat," she says, almost shy. The sweetness blooms against the sour air. Solidarity tastes like fruit in winter. At a junction where slime writes its own alphabet across the stones, Carter calls you over. Set into the wall, half hidden by muck, lies a small iron plate. You scrub with your sleeve until raised letters show through, LCC, and a scratched date you squint to read, 1849 or 1848. The 8 and 9 argue with each other. "We were always here," Carter says softly, as though answering an accusation. Long before they remembered, letters hint that even when bylaws forbade it, men in need found ways below, sometimes with watchman's nod, sometimes without. Official memory and lived memory rarely share a bed. A rat swims past, sleek as an eel. The boy hisses, it vanishes into a mouth of shadow. You glance at your lantern and think, not for the first time, of the things you were told when you first came down. Keep a charm, some said, a toadskin in your pocket, or a scrap of red thread against bad luck. Did anyone truly carry such talismans? Records suggest superstition was as common as soap underground. Truth, like light, bends in tight spaces. Still you rub the coin Tom gave you months ago, and feel the small relief of ritual. You find a cluster of items lodged against a lip of brick, spoil trapped by the stubbornness of angle. Together you free them. A brooch with a missing stone, a pewter thimble, a halfpenny blackened to anonymity, and unexpectedly, a child's tin soldier, one leg gone. The boy claims him with ceremony. Captain, he declares, lost in action, you salute the little survivor. The boy salutes back with exaggerated solemnity until you both laugh, the sound lacquered thin by the tunnel and set to dry. Hours loosen around you. Underground, time flows by texture rather than by clock. Your shoulders ache pleasantly. Your breath shapes clouds you cannot see. Now and then the world above intrudes in delicate threads. The clatter of a late carriage, the exhale of a tavern door, faint laughter spilling through a grate like perfume through lace. The two Londons greet each other in glimpses and go on pretending to live alone. At rest in a shallow recess, you cradle your lantern and let your mind climb to the surface. You see a parlour with wallpaper patterned in little bouquets, a table laid with china, a girl smelling her wrist to see if the cologne has lasted. You imagine her mother telling her not to lean too close to the fire, not to stain the cuffs. You imagine the father reading aloud from the Times about progress, capital P, while your toshers trade bread and coins in a room whose walls sweat patience. Would they recognize themselves in you? If they looked long enough, would you recognize yourself in them? You rise as the flame dips. Time to move, time to breathe where the air turns truer. The boy tugs your sleeve and points to a seam in the wall you had missed. A vertical crack that looks like the line between two pages. He slips his spoonstick in and coaxes out something small. A ring. Gold, dulled by filth. But true. The four of you draw close, heads bowed like parishioners. Nell turns it in her fingers. For a finger half the size of mine, she murmurs. Poor lass. She presses it into your palm. You drew the flood from us, she says, matter-of-factly. Take the bright bit. You want to argue. The feeling passes. Gratitude remains. The work thins as the bag fattens. The drip seems slower, as if the tunnel is also growing tired. Carter touches the lantern glass twice. Once for the living, once for the lost. Habit or prayer. You're not sure it matters which. You follow the sound of drier air. The whisper that says ladder, great, world. Climbing is its own liturgy. Rung, breath, rung, breath. Your muscles complain like old friends. Above, the iron mouth becomes a coin of night. Then a square of fog-lit street. You lift the grate enough to slide your bag through. Then your shoulders, then the rest of you, born into London's cold again. The others follow, each arrival marked by a puff of warm air, a soft grunt, a life declared. You stand together in the alley, steam ribboning from your mouths. Snow begins in small, undecided flakes that seem to change their minds as they fall. The boy holds up the tin soldier to show him the weather. Nell laughs very quietly, a sound that belongs to kitchens and rooms with curtains. Carter stretches his back until it protests, then smiles as if protest were a kind of music. You walk toward Bishopsgate in a world muffled by winter. In the pawnbroker's window, the usual trophies gleam with chilly ambition. Inside, he weighs your ring with 2 fingers and a look that calculates futures. He offers less than you hoped. He always does. You accept. Some seasons teach you the arithmetic of enough. You buy bread fresh enough to sting your fingers, a candle that promises a small horizon, and a length of red thread for Nell's pocket. Because belief tastes better when shared. You part at the corner where the street forgets itself into lanes. Carter heads left, whistling off-key. Nell and the boy disappear into steam. You linger, not out of reluctance, but to listen. The city above hums like a hive inside a wall. The city below answers in syllables. You realize you have lived between 2 languages long enough to dream in both. You make your way home through streets that blink slowly under gas lamps. A cat crosses your path with the arrogance of kings. In your room, a wedge of space at the top of a stair that leans. You set the candle down and watch the flame discover the shape of your belongings. A chair, A pail, a blanket mended so often that thread now outnumbers cloth. You wash your hands in a basin that clouds the water immediately, then keep washing until your skin stings and the sting becomes clean. You sit. The room creaks politely. You lay the coin Tom once gave you beside the new candle. The two circles shine in different dialects. Your eyes grow heavy, but you wait a little, listening for the drip that isn't here, for the echo that belongs to another ceiling. It fades. What remains is the soft rasp of your breath. Somewhere inside you, a lamp lowers. Somewhere inside you, a tunnel opens and asks nothing you cannot give. The city breathes. You breathe back. You are safe now. The door is closed. The night is only a shape beyond the glass. The candle draws a small shore around you, and the tide stops at its edge. The sounds that used to reach you, drip, echo, distant wheels, fall away like snowflakes that forget to touch the ground. The rope is gone from your waist. The hook rests. Your hands are only hands again. Let the room find its rhythm. It is a quiet rhythm, made of familiar things, a board settling into its nail, a window pane breathing with the weather, a thread in the blanket sighing as you turn. Your breath joins them, slow and even, the metronome of a body that knows it has earned its rest. Inhale, the world grows soft. Exhale, the world grows distant. The lamp in your mind lowers until it is only warmth. The tunnel in your memory widens into a gentle corridor with dry stone and a door you can close with a fingertip. No water moves there, no echo insists. Only the comfortable hush of a room that keeps watch for you while you sleep. Thoughts drift by like small boats, and then drift away again. Let them. They carry nothing you must unload tonight. Names become pebbles, faces become light. Even the city becomes a soft murmur, friendly, as if it were tucking you in. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel your jaw loosen. Feel your hands grow warm and still. The breath goes in, the breath goes out. Each time a little slower, each time a little deeper. If any sound remains, it is only the kind that belongs inside a lullaby. The lantern fades. The echoes fade. That world drifts behind you, farther and farther, until it is a memory of water at the edge of sleep. You steer safe now. You steer so warm. You steer so warm. Sleep. Sweet dreams.